My name is Wayne Mormon. I'm a retired professional engineer, and today I would like to talk about the provincial operating rule and the city of Parksville's water supply. So the Parksville water supply was authorized by the province through a conditional water license. It required that upland storage of 9 million cubic meters be provided via Arrowsmith Lake and the construction of a new dam. The dam was completed in 1999 and has been operating since that date. You'll see some pictures of the dam in the spring and also in the fall of 2022. The conditional water license, which was also issued by the province, was originally issued in March of 1997. They reissued the license again in October the 26th of 2017, and it reiterated again that the maximum quantity of water in storage shall be 9 million cubic meters. 7 million cubic meters of that water can be diverted for waterworks purposes, i.e. human consumption, environmental flows, and fisheries. Adequate water, according to the operating rule, shall be released from the Arrowsmith Lake from June 1st to October 31st of any year. The city has never been able to meet that for that period of time. So from June 1st to October 31st, the flows in the river have actually fallen below the 1.6 cubic meters per second. Diversion of water under this license may be regulated at any time by an order in writing from the Water Management under the Water Sustainability Act. This was only done in 2009. The order under Section 18 of the Water Act, which is titled Provincial Operational Rule, Arrowsmith Lake Reservoir, was issued on March the 4th of 1997. The license shall provide at the end of each month for the period of May to November the following reports: water levels of Arrowsmith Lake daily, outflows from Arrowsmith Lake daily, flow measurements on the Englishman River at the Orange Bridge, which is in the city of Parksville, and intake flows at the river intake daily. Now, these reports were to be supplied to the province on a monthly basis for those 5 months, and this has not been done, and I don't know why. Between June 1st and October 31st of any year, the flow release shall be made from the Arrowsmith Lake Reservoir to maintain the flow in the Englishman River above 1.6 cubic meters per second, measured at the Orange Bridge in Parksville. And this is also the Water Survey of Canada gauge 08HB002. This 1.6 minimum has not been achievable and never has been achievable since 1999. The provisional operating rule was based on hydrology prior to the mid-1990s. Climate change has not been accounted for. We are now 30 plus years into the future. New data and climate change means less water in the summer and not enough storage. So the history of Parksville water. The city has not been able to maintain 1.6 cubic meters per second flow during the summer months since the dam opened in 1999. Only in 2009 did the city request to discharge less than 1.6 cubic meters per second release rate, and they were granted the request for that year only. No further allowances were made to reduce flows below 1.6 cubic meters per second in the following years. The summer of 2022 was very problematic, with flows as low as 0.562 meters cubes per second, even with water released from Arrowsmith Lake, which is based on the Provisional Water Survey of Canada data. The city cannot meet the 1.6 cubic meter per second rule during the low flow periods of June 1st to October 31st as required by the province, and they have not done this for the last 20 or so years. So based on the data from the Orange Bridge, or the flow gauge at the Orange Bridge from 1999 to 2020, we've determined the flows based on the Water Survey of Canada gauge, and we've looked at the minimum flows of 1.6. We've also looked at 1.4 cubic meters per second, and also flows at 1.2. So you can see in the table here that since the dam was completed in 1999, they have, on many days during the summer, they have not been able to meet the 1.6 rule. Its maximum was up to 112 days, and I think the minimum is about 5, but there's many days when they're double digits. In the 1.4 range, you can see from 2000 to 2006, there was an average of 33 days each month where they couldn't meet that, and then since then, we have actual figures that show numbers as high as 98 and many in the double digits as well. The flow of 1.2, which is getting very low, has a number of days, once again in double digits. There are about 5 or 6 years where they did meet the 1.2, but there's a number of years where they haven't been able to. The dam generally opens to flow somewhere between late June, early July, mid-July, and that's what the fourth column shows, is when the dam starts to spill water. So the weather in 2022. 2022 began as a very good year. There was lots of snowpack. We had a wet, cool spring in the early summer. The dam was full until late July, and the 1.6 cubic meter per second rule was met until August. The flows dropped below 1.6 cubic meters per second approximately August 30th. They dropped below 1.4 on September 20th, and they dropped below 1.2 on September 30th of 2022. By early October of 2022, flows were below the 1 meter cube per second. And also on October 24th, the province instructed the city to maintain flows at between 0.7 and 0.8 meters cubed per second at the Orange Bridge. Flows dropped below 0.7 in mid-October. See the next slide. The actual flow in the river, after the province had instructed them to maintain the flows between 0.7 and 0.8, dropped as low as 0.56 prior to the rains in late October. The climate change this year was extremely noticeable, and conditions are predicted to get worse over the years. As of November 19th, because we did have rainfall, the river was at the 1.6 cubic meters per second. And as of November the 18th, 2022, Arrowsmith Lake was critically low. The high level outlet was exposed and was not functioning. So what I have here is a graph of the flows in the Englishman River, basically from mid-July to late October of 2022. So you can see that as we approaching the middle part of July, we've got more than the 1.6 cubic meters per second. Flows are good, however, the river's dropping. Then there's a period of time after the middle of July where the flows averaged around 1.6. They dropped down to 1.4. They came back up to just below 1.6. And then they took a steep decline where they went back into the 1.4 range, the 1.2 range, the 1 range. They dropped below the 0.7 to 0.8 as required by the province and got into flows around 0.5 or 0.6. Recall now too that the minimum flow that the province or that the city should have supplied was the 1.6, which is the red line. So the current situation, the city cannot meet the current minimum flows of 1.6 cubic meters per second as required by their provisional operating rule and extract water for the current population of 13,400 during the low flow period. Population of 13,400 compares to 11,977 in 2011 and 10,993 in 2006. Parksville's normal population and summer tourism population total approximately 22,000, which puts a further demand on the water. So looking at what's happened as well since the last few years, over 300 new residential units were added to Parksville in the past 3 years. And the proposed 1465 Great Road development is about 800 units. How will Parksville supply water for a larger population without further water supply storage and sources when they're not able to meet the operating rule at this point in time? And this is not a new problem. In 2017, Councillor Leanne Salter put a motion on the floor asking council to investigate upland water storage to supplement summer water supply. The vote was defeated by 6-1, and the idea died at the council table. In 2019, the Parksville Director of Engineering, Juan Figueroa, PNG, at a 2019 Parksville Symposium noted publicly, since the Arrowsmith Dam was built, most of the time we have been able to stay above the minimum fisheries base flow required. Yes, for about 8 months of the year. The other 4 months, summer and early fall, it cannot be accomplished. January 2020, in the Parksville Qualicum newspaper article on the opening of the new water treatment plant, Vaughn again, Parksville city engineer, was quoted as saying, "With climate change coming on, we have to find sources of water. It allows us to not only draw water out of the river, but respect the environment in terms of fish requirements for the river and the habitat that is there." So a call to action. The situation, in my opinion, is critical. Parksville must study the hydrology of the Englishman River, Arrowsmith Lake Dam, and local aquifers to determine capacity of the current system to satisfy domestic and fisheries needs from June 1st to October 31st before any further development is considered. Lack of water is just one of the several issues with the development proposal for 1465 Greg Road. The picture here shows the normal outlet for the dam, which is about 810 meters. It was actually dry, and the water level dropped about a meter below this point, and the city was relying on a siphon to access additional water. But you can see that the intake here was high and dry.